top qualifier is Audrey Rousseau of Canada. Very much in contention, the likes of Tucha Yilmaz and Chien-Duan Quing Nam as the second and third strongest in qualification respectively. Now the introduction of competitors in the men's vault. First, Salim Nagouj of Jordan, 7th strongest in qualification. His teammate Majdi Al-Hamoud, 5th strongest, and then Murad Agazaev of Azerbaijan, the top qualifier. 3rd strongest in qualification was Neophytos Kyriakou of Cyprus, and Bulgaria's David Huddleston was the 2nd strongest. 6th strongest in qualification, Jordan Alexandrov of Bulgaria. Emre Gundogdu of Turkey, the 8th strongest, and Mustafa Arka of Turkey as well, the 4th strongest in qualification. They are the 8 that will go in the men's vault final. They were the only 8 that entered the competition, so automatic progression through to the final for all of them. In the women's balance beam, we'll start with Tina Zelcic of Croatia. 16-year-old was the 6th strongest in qualification. Adela Shine of Slovenia, 4th strongest. Turkey's Tucha Yilmaz, the 2nd strongest. Chien-Duan Quing Nam of Vietnam was the 3rd strongest in qualification. Top performer was Audrey Rousseau of Canada with 12.4. Second Vietnamese competitor Tien Nguyen of Vietnam, 11.6 in qualification, the 5th best. Canada's Emma Milne, the 7th strongest, and Taya Belak, the 8th strongest in qualifying. So the two events will run concurrently, the men's vault and the women's balance beam, and we'll endeavour to give you as much score information as we possibly can along the way. It has been a little bit touch and go so far. I'm sure those of you who've been watching since the start are nodding your heads vociferously at the moment. But there is the start list for the men's vault competition. It is the 3rd gymnast to go, Murad Agazaev, who was the top performer in qualification. Gymnasts will undertake 2 vaults, as is customary in an apparatus final. They have to be from different vaulting families, so different entries to the apparatus. And we start with the 2 jumping Jordanians, Salim Nagouj and Majdi Al-Hamoud. Nagouj, the 7th strongest in qualification. He's just 18. And unfortunately he'll take some very hefty deductions for that problem on landing. He's actually got quite a bit of protection around the right foot and ankle. He's done a lot of competition over the past couple of days and indeed on finals day today, so might just well be taking a few slight pains and aches into this competition. He had a 0.1 penalty, Nagouj, on his first vault in qualification. He's going to also incur penalties on this occasion as well. Had a 0.3 penalty on the second vault. All that led to overall was a score of 12.325. So here goes Nagouj once more. Once again, problems for the Jordanian gymnast. Had to put his hand down, which carries a full mark deduction. So he won't particularly enjoy looking at this score, unfortunately. He's not far off getting it right, and he nearly sat down, but the hand came to his aid. Over to the balance beam and Tina Zelcic, just 16-year-old from Zagreb, in her 2nd senior year in her 2nd World Cup competition. Big achievement from her making the balance beam final here. She was the second strongest performer on the beam at the Croatian National Championships last year. It's nicely composed work, actually. That's a lovely start from Tina Zelcic. She was the 6th best in qualification with 11.5. Wonder if that's going to jump up a little bit. She looked very stable for that whole display. Very nice pirouette. The dismount was nothing too troublesome in terms of controlling the landing. Now Majdi Al-Hamoud is the next competitor to go. Haven't got a score in yet, I'm afraid, for Salim Nagouj, but we shall do our best to get you some information on his performance as soon as it's possible. Both Nagouj and Al-Hamoud are from the city of Amman, one of the oldest in the world. You thought that this place, Mersin, founded in the 9th century BC, was old, then Amman will step in and say, well, actually, we've been around since the 13th century BC. It was called Rabath Ammon, named by the Ammonites. Very, very ancient city, full of so much extraordinary architecture. Just awaiting clarification on those scores. I'm not sure if Al-Hamoud has in fact already performed one vault. He may have done so whilst Zelcic was performing on the balance beam, but there certainly is a score registered at the moment for Al-Hamoud. Just making his way into position is Neophytos Kyriakou, joining Murad Agazayev, who's next to go, the top qualifier. So it does look as though this is the second vault for Al-Hamoud, and in fact we just missed that first one. David Huddleston, who's lurking around in the background as well, the second best in qualification. And this is Majdi Al-Hamoud. Made his return to the World Championships last year. First time since 2014 that he'd participated in them. He's been close, has Al-Hamoud, to taking World Cup medals on a few occasions. They all actually were in Mersin in 2016, where he was 4th on the floor and on the parallel bars, 6th in the rings and vault, but he's yet to take a World Cup medal. Here he goes. Oh, that did not go according to plan at all for Majdi Al-Hamoud. Well, let's have another look at this. Unusual to see. He just opted out of that. Coach in the background looking a touch bewildered. Just wondering if he's actually going again here, Al-Hamoud, which means there was some kind of technical issue. Now, did somebody move across perhaps and disrupt his attack of the vault. That must be what happened. That has happened in one World Cup event already so far this year. That could well be the issue. Certainly we are going to see Al Hamoud go again, there's no doubt about that. So the score is 12.2 for Salim Nagouj, down by just over a tenth from qualification. No word yet on the score for Tina Zelcic on the balance beam, but we'll come back to that in a short while. A very long wait this for Al Hamoud. Well, he's been spending several minutes there lurking around waiting to get the chance to go again. Interruption to that second vault. Now over to Zelcic, who scores 11.35. So she's down by a tenth and a half from qualification. Here goes Majdi Al Hamoud. Looked all absolutely fine on that occasion from the Jordanian gymnast. So after a prolonged delay, he has completed his 2 vaults. It'll be over now to Agazaev, to the balance beam, and Adela Shine of Slovenia. She was 4th on the beam in the World Cup Olympic qualification event in Doha early this year. 4th in qualification here. Ooh, and off she goes. Looked for a moment as though she was actually going to hold that, you know. Linked those quite nicely, just that little loss of stability at the end. It's more assured. Wolf jump with the full turn proving problematic. Illusion turn wasn't the most fluid. I might take a little bit of a hit, the score of Adela Shine compared to qualification. Dismount was lovely, but very early on in the routine came off when it looked as though she might just be able to hold it. But what an experienced competitor she is. Made her 9th appearance at the European Championships in Szczecin. Now to Agazaev. Oh, he really did get some amplitude on that. First vault had a 9.1 execution score. That was in qualification. And this was a very well stabilised vault, actually. Had a 5.2 difficulty in qualifying. So that was overwhelmingly his strongest of the 2 vaults, a 14.2 he received for it. What is interesting is that Agazaev picked up a 0.1 penalty for stepping out of bounds on the first, a 0.3 penalty on the second, so just get the feeling there's opportunity for Agazaev to really improve upon his score with this second vault. And here it goes. Will he control the penalties on this occasion? Oh, yes, he will. Yes, he will indeed. Great work from Agazaev. He was close to sitting that one down, but he didn't. Well, that was a very powerful bit of vaulting indeed. 10.65 for Şahin. She goes into second place, but we've only had two. And now to Tuğçe Yilmaz of Turkey, second best in qualification with a 12.15 score. Gymnast who competed at the Olympic Games. She was a reserve for the balance beam final. Defending champion from the World Cup in Mersin last year, and indeed in 2016, so looking for three in a row. They all thought she'd got that, the crowd. They were celebrating her making that acrobatic sequence work, and yet she just lost the balance. Decent height on the leaps. Steady dismount at the end, but a look of controlled disappointment, shall we say, from Tuğçe Yilmaz. Very appreciative of the crowd, but at the same time disappointed with the early stages of the routine. I must correct myself, she was a silver medalist last year on the balance beam. She won it in 2016, so going for 3 medals in a row rather than 3 consecutive titles in this World Challenge Cup event. Now to Neophytos Kyriakou, and that is not going to be as strong as his score in qualification, which is a 13.4. It's a well executed vault in qualifying. He's having a bit of a tough day, is Kyriakou. .175 the score for Agazaev. We've not got anything on the board at the moment for Majdi Al Hamoud. There it is, the confirmation of the leading score for Agazaev. Nagouj is in second place on 12.2, and we're awaiting a confirmed score for Majdi Al Hamoud. He was the second competitor to go. This is the fourth, Neophytos Kyriakou. And it's the third strongest in qualification, Kyriakou. He's left a little bit of a gap open now for the rest of the pack with that first vault. Made the vault final at the Commonwealth Games. Was 8th. Had a 0.3 penalty in qualification for this vault. That was better. Nice second vault from Neophytos Kyriakou, Cypriot gymnast, who's just 20. Better form on that occasion. He was very slightly out in his rotations, but not a great deal. To the balance beam, this is the fourth competitor, Chien Doan Quing Nam of Vietnam, third strongest in qualification, the 16-year-old from Haiphong. So third World Cup event. She has already made a balance beam final. That was in Sombate, where she was 6th. Oh, and she's going to go as well. Well, I never. Second and third strongest in qualification have come off. We have so far had only one of the first four manage to hold their routine, and that was Tina Zelčić. From that loud sound in the background, it seems the men's vault competition is continuing whilst we watch the balance beam. I'll try to keep you updated on that. It will be that David Huddleston has just completed his first vault. Chien Duan Quing Nam has also had her difficulties that she's recovered well from. Now we're looking at David Huddleston. This, it appears, is going to be the second for him. He got really good distance on that vault. Had to control quite a few back steps, but he did so nicely. Huddleston, the second strongest performer in qualification. Now the score for Tutsja Yilmaz is 11.25, so she's in the silver medal position at the moment. We're about to see the top qualifier, Audrey Russo. Now if she can hold on, then she's got a very good case indeed, with the second and third having come off in their final routines. I just wonder if that increases or diminishes the pressure. I'm sure if you're a gymnast out there, you'll have your own view on that. Some will say probably it makes things easier knowing that your two nearest rivals from qualification have come off, and others might say no, it makes me that little bit more nervous. I think it's personal preference. So Jordan Alexandrov of Bulgaria, that is his first vault. He was the sixth strongest in the qualification process, Alexandrov. Don't know too much, I'm afraid, about the men's vault at the moment, other than Murad Agazayev scored a 14.175, and we think he's leading, but we're not too sure. I don't think the competitors are too sure either, to be perfectly honest. They're just getting on with it. He's having a look up to make sure he's clear to go, Alexandrov. Second vault for Alexandrov. Takes just a moment for extra stability at the end. That was the much easier vault in qualification as well. Had a 9.2 execution for both of his vaults. I'll come back to the men's vault and the standings if we can bring you them as soon as possible. Now over to the women's balance beam, and we're about to see Audrey Russo of Canada, the top performer in qualification. Just waiting clarification on the score for Chien Duan Quing Nam. But she also had a loss of balance on the beam and came off. One of the first times that people really noticed Audrey Russo was when she won the junior balance beam title at the Canadian Championships in 2014. Well, that is what we know so far, and it's an 11.05 for Chien Duan Quing Nam of Vietnam. So she's in the bronze medal position. Adela Shine drops down into 4th place. Now Emre Gundogdu of Turkey is about to vault. He's the penultimate competitor. And he was the 8th strongest in qualification. But this first vault, he's got potential to move this up. It's a 5.2 difficulty. He had only a 7.6 execution in qualification. Can he improve upon it? I don't think he can, unfortunately. Similar sort of issue, just not getting it fully rotated. And that's the danger with that sort of vault, is that you effectively come down in a supine position. Teammate Mustafa Arka watching on and wincing, really wanting his friend to make that work. Gymnast who took a silver medal on the still rings, Emre Gundogdu, going for his 2nd vault, and that's the one that had a 3.2 difficulty in qualification, and it was executed much more securely. So really a similar situation for the 22-year-old as in qualifying. We are moving across now to have a look at Audrey Rousseau on the balance beam. Top qualifier, 12.4 her score. Doesn't have the difficulty of Yilmaz and Chien. But if she can stay on, then she will go ahead of them. It's nicely controlled. Good solid front walkover. Well then, that might well be the leading display right there from Audrey Rousseau. Could have put herself very firmly in contention to take World Cup gold, the Canadian gymnast. Now one more to go. It's Mustafa Arka of Turkey. This is how things stand. Emre Gundogdu, 12.125, puts him in 6th place. So it's Agazayev of Azerbaijan who leads, 14.175. Huddleston of Bulgaria, 2nd, 13.475. Kyriakou, Cyprus, 13.15. And just some clarification on Hajdi Al-Hamoud of Jordan. It looked as though that unsuccessful vault that we saw, where he didn't really complete anything, that was in fact his first vault and was considered a valid one. He got no score for that, and then a score of 11.55 for the 2nd vault, as Arka manages to control that landing nicely. We did wonder if in fact Al-Hamoud was being given a 2nd opportunity to vault. That was not the case, just to be clear. So his vault was not interrupted. In fact, it just was an unsuccessful attempt, so he's right down there in 7th place. Now what of Arka? Can he move into contention? The score he's looking for is in excess of 13.15. Second vault for Mustafa Arka. Now then, that's interesting because Arka didn't get that at all right in qualification. He was only credited in the end with a 2.8 difficulty score. And it might just be that he's going to put himself into contention. It was indicating he was just going for the 2.8, so it looks as though that's as it will stay, in fact. Meanwhile, Russo with a 12.4 does go into the lead. She's in the gold medal position. Now, Tien Nguyen of Vietnam, 5th strongest in qualification. We're also going to see her competing in the floor final. Just didn't quite get the legs fully up in the leap. That was very steady. Oh, big step forward that she controlled, and that's a bit of a challenge laid down by Nguyen to get in amongst the medals with some of the work that we've seen earlier on, because it's 11.25 that currently occupies bronze, and maybe, just maybe, that big step forward, as big as it was, actually could help control things a touch. 12.7 for Arka, so it was still the 2.8 difficulty score that he went for. His execution was a little bit better, but wasn't as strong for the first vault, so 12.85 was his qualification score. And that means that it is the gold medal for Agazayev. Silver goes to Huddleston, and Neophytos Kyriakou has managed to hold on to secure himself the bronze medal. Now it's Emma Milne of Canada who's next to go. So we have two more competitors in the women's balance beam final. Gymnast who has just started as an undergraduate at San Jose State University. But no sooner is she enrolled than she's come away to compete at this World Challenge Cup competition. She's just awaiting the score of Tien Nguyen. Well, apologies for the delay here. It's a bit of clarification, I think, required for the score of the Vietnamese gymnast who's just competed on the balance beam. Judges are having a proper old think about this one. And there it is, waiting for that to come in. Now, how close is she going to get to the leaderboard? it is one of those balance beam finals that does seem like it is a touch up for grabs. Is she going to go ahead of her teammate? More significantly, is she going to go ahead of Tuğçe Yilmaz with 2 to come? Rousseau's looking pretty tidy at the top of the leaderboard at the moment. Certainly the case that Emma Milne can challenge, though. She's got one of the higher difficulties of all of the competitors to make it into the final. Rousseau's difficulty down just by a tenth, but the execution up by a tenth from qualification, so the same score for her. Selcic was down by a tenth and a half, and Yilmaz was down by almost a full mark, courtesy of coming off the beam. And Chen was down by almost 0.9. So this is certainly the most prolonged wait we've had so far for any score to come in. And after this we will turn our attention to the men's parallel bars and the women's floor finals. Well, it may just be, we heard there over the stadium tannoy that Audrey Rousseau has inquired about her difficulty score, which is down by a tenth from qualification. So this will be interesting to see if any changes made. I think that's why we've got this delay. It's not so much the performance of Tian Nguyen. Now, it looks like she has come in with a decent position. Yes, there we go. 11.4 for Nguyen. Goes into the silver medal position. Now, what about Rousseau? Looks as though this inquiry has been successful. Otherwise, they wouldn't, you'd think, be making a change. And there it is. There's confirmation for Tiana Nguyen that she has scored a silver medal holding performance at the moment. 11.4. Young gymnast who trains in Texas but is from California originally. Parents are Vietnamese. She's been representing Vietnam for quite some time. Now, more on that Audrey Rousseau score in a little. Let's focus on Emma Milne, the 7th best in qualifying. Oh, and that, you would think, has virtually assured the Vietnamese gymnast of a medal. Rousseau is already guaranteed something. Just had some difficulty stabilising the illusion turn, but managed it. And that was a really nice pirouette, very rapid and very controlled. Well, Emma Milne's second half of the routine was very strong indeed. Just had problems in the very first stages of it, and will lose a full mark as a result of that. Does that make Tiana Nguyen safe? Now Taya Belak, the final competitor to go. And we'll know in a short while what score she is chasing, having already managed to win the vault competition. 8th best in qualification, Belak. She doesn't have a hugely difficult routine. It's the lowest difficulty score in terms of all of the qualifying gymnasts for this final. But it's not out of the question that she could insert a little more difficulty. And it's also not out of the question that the execution could be higher than others. But 10.6 was her score in qualifying. Emma Milne's score came in there, and I'm sure if you were very eagle-eyed you will have spotted it. And now to Taya Belak. Just steadies herself, takes a pause. This is growing actually as a routine. She's already won 16 World Cup medals, Belak, over the years. Now we have a bit of an anxious wait on for the competitors who are in leading positions to see whether this performance from Taya Belak is going to be good enough to break into the top 3. Earlier on in the men's vault, Murad Agarzaev of Azerbaijan won the gold. David Huddleston of Bulgaria took the silver, and we see the score of 9.9 for Milne come in, so not in contention. And Neophytos Kyriakou was the bronze medalist in the men's vault. So we are absolutely secure then in Audrey Rousseau taking a medal, and Tiana Nguyen. Now it is a wait to see what happens to Taya Belak. That's how things stand. Rousseau, Nguyen, Zelcic, 1, 2, 3. Belak, who scored 10.6 in qualification, so she needs the judges to have found a little extra something. And it looks as though they have most certainly found it, because it's an 11.8 for Taya Belak. Much higher execution, 7.5 for her, and she takes the silver medal as a result. And that means that Nguyen goes down into the bronze medal position, and Zelcic, who was the first performer and looked for so long as though she was going to take something, she finishes in 4th position with Audrey Rousseau of Canada winning the title. First ever World Challenge Cup honours for Audrey Rousseau, and it's a gold medal for the Canadian, the 19-year-old from La Prairie in Quebec. So what that now means is that Azerbaijan and Canada join Slovenia, Turkey and Croatia in winning gold medals at this World Challenge Cup. We've had 7 of the 10 events take place now, and we're just waiting the start of the parallel bars and women's floor finals, and then it will be on its own the men's horizontal bar to finish off this day of competition in Mersin. There is confirmation of those final standings in the women's balance beam. Audrey Rousseau of Canada taking the gold medal. Her score was upgraded by a single tenth, so she was in the end given the full